Peace and blessings, family. This is your boy Juro. It is the 4th of August, 2019. How are you doing? I hope that this weekend has been restful for you. Good morning. And I was kind of hesitant on going on, but you know me, when I feel something in my spirit that needs to be spoke on or needs to be shared, I'm transparent. Yes, I got my coffee. And yes, it's quiet. And I found out that some of your greatest insight is when you're allowing yourself to be connected with yourself without distraction. Because that is one of the things that you'll come to know as you go through life, that some of the most minute things, most minimal things, things that we tend to take for granted, will also be the things that have the most weight, most value, and have the most impact. So I wanted to take this time right now. You can hear the lawnmower of my neighbor cutting his grass. Some of you who've been following me know that one of the most therapeutic things you can do is working with your hands, making the commitment to whatever the task is. And as you allow yourself to be immersed in that task, you will find your mind traveling. You will also find answers to questions that once were pondered. Why? Because that is when you're the most vulnerable. But with vulnerability comes strength. It's just being able to understand what's going on. But a lot of times, when we allow our emotions to get ahead of us, we'll become critical. We'll even get to the point sometimes that we may be questioning our mental state. Am I crazy? Why is everything going on? Why is the timing the way it is? Why am I seeing it? Some of you may look at that as synchronicity. Some of you may also look at it as divine intervention. It just depends on the perspective and what you're willing to acknowledge as present. And I think, family, that one of the things that we tend to water down, and I don't want to say this in a perspective of being arrogant, because I'm trying to reach the person at the level that they're at. Just as I know that the words that come from my heart, that fall from my mouth, will reach the intended ear in the intended time. May it be today, may it be 6 years from now, maybe be 6 months. But when it resonates, it is for you. Just know it comes from a place of love. Now, unfortunately, let me back up. My prayers go out to those who have family, directly or indirectly, that are affected with the tragedy that occurred yesterday in El Paso, Texas, as well as the following week, I think it was in California, wasn't even 30 days, and it occurred here, Virginia Beach. And you'll notice, family, that it is becoming more and more repetitive. Only thing that changes is the face. The outcome is still the same. And with the narrative that's going on, now more importantly, now more than ever, you got to make a choice. So what do you mean, Gerald? What do you mean by making a choice? It's quite simple. When are you going to see your worth? So what does that have to do with what occurred with yesterday or the week before or 30 days prior here in Virginia Beach, in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you, in a region near you? What does seeing your worth have to do with loss of life? Well, there is a connection to it all. Now, first and foremost, no mortal being knoweth the time nor the moment that they'll take their last breath. I'm pretty sure those people that set out yesterday to start their day, to do with their requirements, never had an inkling that their lifeline would come to a close. And granted, you're going to have those in the cheap seats that are going to try to put a spin and try to tell you what they want you to interpret. I'm just going to throw this back at you. What does your heart say? Because now more than ever, family, it's all about you allowing yourself to become one with yourself. Now, I would be remiss not to mention this. If you go back to the beginning of this year, I mentioned it 4 times, and I told you we are in the season of the ant and the grasshopper. And some of you who know the childhood story of the ant and the grasshopper know the ending. Just to surmise it real quick, you had 2 living existences. You had a grasshopper, you had an ant. The grasshopper took in an environment and did not prepare. The ant was aware of of its surroundings, but also saw the value of time. And in turn, as that time, no man, no person will never be able to master. It still saw the value of its existence and it prepared. It also saw the reality of why it was to be. So, what do you mean, Jura? See, in that story, as many nuances that were going on. That grasshopper still didn't see the signs, never took a chance to ponder, to reflect, to have that aha moment. But it was that ant pretty much critically thought and stayed the course. This could be applied to your day to day. This also could be applied to your hopes and dreams. How about those natural God given talents? What about those repetitive dreams you're having? Who am I talking to? You keep having the same dreams over and over again, but for some reason, you want to keep them shackled. You keep discrediting yourself. You keep, for some reason, holding yourself hostage. But yet the frustration is building and mounting over time because you know inside you what needs to be done. So let's go back to the story of the ant and that grasshopper. Because no living creation has the ability to master time. And what would happen? Time would march on. The seasons would change and judgment would come. The seasons would change to a point that all that was prosperous, fruitful, had run its course. The temperatures had changed, and now autumn has turned into fall, and fall has matured into winter. And there was that grasshopper, confused, clinging to life till life did not exist. Meanwhile, deep, warm, nestled, there was an ant. All the time of preparing. Eventually, that ant would find its way up, look around and survey to see the snow. And once was the friend of that grasshopper frozen. What is the ant to do? He saw the opportunity and grabbed the grasshopper to live some more. So the long story short is this, fam. You're going to have constant distractions. You're going to have opportunities be presented that are not authentic. You're going to have criticism. And sometimes, depending on how it is formulated, you may have conflict too. But you've also heard this from someone dear, someone connected to you by blood or bone, or from someone who just wants to see you smile. It too shall pass. So, what does that have to do with everything? Number one, fam, you got to see the value of your life. And if you see the value of your life, there is also a responsibility that comes with it. Number one, you got to be aware of your surroundings, no matter where you should where you stand is whereas where you're projected to go. You have to do that. You can't take life for granted. Because as you can see, life is not a video game. Life is not about having a cheat code. Life is not about hitting the reset button, getting a fresh start, because you're only given one life. You're only given one. Now, I'm going to spin it. Let's talk about, per se, said drama. Some of y'all may think you're cursed. Some of y'all might think that you have bad luck. And some of y'all may actually get to maybe at a place right now where you honestly understand that everything that is going on in your life operates just like the ocean. It ebbs and flows, but eventually it becomes calm. But we also know that still waters run deep, right? But have you ever considered everything that you are being afforded to see? It is also attractive. But guess what? Everything that you have to navigate first is manifested from that beautiful mind. Think about it. So you may be wondering, well, Gerald, I hear what you're saying, but I got this drama going on right now. My friendships are being tested right now. You know, from the I've got bonds that go back since I could walk. And it's like we're strangers now. Why? I'm gonna tell you why. Have you ever considered that possibly your presence is an example of what they inspire to be? And because the fact that perhaps they're not investing the effort, or they're just acknowledging what makes their circumstance, there's a little envy going there. But along with the envy, guess what? There's a whole lot of fear. And you know what's not there? Ownership. Whole lot of excuses too. That's why when life comes and kind of tries to knock you off your feet, those said people are not there. But yet, when you're in your season or you're in that low place in life, that plateau, which requires you to dig deep within yourself, notice they're not doing it either. But now you become their entertainment. Because, family, I've learned that when you're not focusing on your life like you supposed to, that becomes a distraction for someone who ain't doing it for themselves. And until you're able to truly take a step back to ponder what made the effect, because everything that we do, first of all, is by choice, free will. Should I stand my ground? Should I go back? Should I go left? Should I go left? Go right? Should I go forward? It still requires a level of honesty. How can you worry about what said friends are doing if you're not taking stock in what you're doing. That's just why that proverbial birds of a feather flock together. But if they don't have no direction where they're going, they have no direction, where are they going? But see, for some people, that's too real. For some people, that might strike a chord. So I ask you this: what does it cost, or what makes up your definition of happiness? How about emotional freedom? Because you can't feel emotionally free or happy if there's fear there. Now, I in the past have mentioned, especially in the beginning, because now it's been 6 years. And when I was going through my low place, dealing with a failed relationship, dealing with betrayal, trying to make sense of it all without emotionally beating myself up, because no matter where you go, who's in your circle, or who you choose to give access to, no one can criticize you more than you. So the question I want to ask to you is, why you doing it? What you really running from? What is holding you back from where you need to be? And I guarantee you, when you're able to answer those questions, the common denominator is that beautiful person in the mirror looking back. Because the reflection is a keeper of you. So if you don't love you, do you expect your circle to? Maybe your challenge may be your inner family dynamic. You may have siblings. It may be from your parental uh your parental setup, because let's be honest, this last 30 years the family dynamic has shifted multiple times, because the 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 matriarch or the patriarchy of said family, the reality is it's more, the dynamic is more of a splinter. Instead of having the family tree, you have an offshoot, and that's become the norm. And let's be honest, it don't help the fact that you have the you have reality TV teaching those who are not informed, and have longer access than just conversations of interaction. And you got to wonder why still 2019 people are afraid to sit at the table. And what I mean by sit at the table, I mean allow yourself to be vulnerable to learn something new. It's sad, fam. It's very, very sad. But you know what's worse? If you're blessed to be to allow that, if you're blessed that your life path will earn you the right to be an elder, Imagine the seeds that are being planted today that's going to be reality tomorrow. That's scary. That's really, really scary. So it just seems like nowadays people don't even value their lives anymore. And mortality or lack thereof is being removed younger and younger and younger. I'll explain. I happen to see on one of the news channels, right? And I thought this was kind of tasteless, but that's just me. That with the unfortunate shooting that occurred in El Paso, as much energy is being put on the whole thing with immigration, logistically, where that was going on. Did you know that they ran a story about how companies are making more money putting out bulletproof backpacks for children? That's the world we living in, fam. Wow. So you got people making money off of fear. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and and um, being hypocrite. Now, at the end of the day, how you choose to live your life, for the most part, will spare you a whole lot of trouble. 50% of the time. But the other 50% of the time is being able to make a concise decision on choices on what you choose to partake in compared to not. For example, how many times have you been in a scenario where you had somebody call you up, say, "Hey, what are you doing? I want to go over here," and it's always when you doing something, pull you away from what you should be doing because that's a test. That's a test to your commitment to seeing things through. And then after you listen to the pitch, so to speak, you decide, nah, sounds good, but I'm not going to do it. I'm dedicated to what I got to do. And then the next day, you hear about something that kicked off over there, unfortunately. But in the back of your mind, you're saying, you know what? I could have been caught up in that. You do realize that you were being spared, right? You were being protected. You realize, right? Because that's exactly what's going on. Because your path, your legacy, your journey, certain factors will play itself out, even if it means disconnection, so that it can play out. It can be afforded to do so. So, to go back to what I was saying prior to that thought. So, I listened to the anchor go from watching breaking news Knowing common sense tells you anything that happens in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you, in a region near you, the authorities got to do their job. And when they're ready to speak, they will speak. And I watch these people stir the pot. Now, ain't no official statement to be had the first. Put all these speculations out there. Not one time having consideration for those directly impacted. How about all those family members? You know, that is going to be traumatic for anybody that indirectly connected or directly impacted. You got to process that. You got to allow yourself to make sense of it all. So that's why, family, when you go into your new week, don't shortchange yourself. See things for what they are. And if you do so, all that's going to do is give you the power to speak your truth, to stand on your foundation. No, I'm not saying it from a perspective of being a bull in a china shop. I'm saying it from a place of integrity. But you know what I also do? It'll also define your self worth. It'll also show you why people want access to you. See, if you didn't have any value, family, they wouldn't be knocking. Or like some people say, they wouldn't come sniffing because they already identified that from the first hello. That's why I've always echoed this. An opportunist doesn't need your help. But what is required is for you to have the courage to acknowledge it when it's shown. So if you have the strength to acknowledge what is being shown, why can't you have the same energy? Because energy out is energy return to acknowledge what you need, to be able to discern what is a want compared to what is required. As I've echoed time and time again, out of love, you want to check the authenticity of your environment, of your friends, ask them right off the top, what is your purpose? And they should be able to respond right back. If they give you more excuses than answering the question, they're wasting your time. That's an agenda. And you're getting too close. So with everything going on, because somebody asked me, said, Gerald, how do you feel about protection? I said, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. At one time, just being able to critically think was enough. But those times have changed because we live in a world where the narcissists and a lot of people that are sociopathic walk around among us. And the difference is they hope that they can't be seen and they use your weakness as an advantage for them. But to answer the question, oh, I have a firearm. I should do. But it's just like certain things don't need to be spoken on. There's a time and place for everything. And hopefully that'll never become a time. But at the end of the day, so should you. The same way that you leave out should be the same energy you need to return, especially those who hold you dear. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Not, I mean, I get it. I mean, we live in a world where, in one hand, people want to have a mentality like it's Grand Theft Auto / Call of Duty, but they think that there's no repercussions, because even the scripture said those who live by the sword die by the sword. That's why it's very important to be responsible with anything that you do, because you're not promised tomorrow. That's all I'm saying. So I hope that you're enjoying your weekend, family. If you had some challenges this past week, allow yourself to process it. Be honest with yourself, because this is something that we tend to overlook out of convenience. Even in pain, the common denominator is you. And what I mean by that is this: no matter what a person does, if you're not present, it has no weight. It has no weight. See what I'm saying? A person can say and try to do anything, but if you're not present in that, it has no impact. So you have to take ownership to a degree that your presence is a factor. So you got to ask yourself this: Does your environment motivate you to be the best you, or is it more of a give and take, or are you feeling hostage inside yourself? See, you know, the one thing I realize about when it comes to behavior, from bipolar to schizophrenic to sociopathic to narcissism, as they escalate, there's no accountability. And what ends up happening is the mental state is so diminished that they look at life without accountability, even to the point of third person. So, what I'm getting at is this: your hopes and dreams can't become a reality if you're not present in your life. And if there is something or someone that is impeding you from living your best life, you must first acknowledge, and then secondly, find your foundation so you can. But the only way that is going to be is you have to be first connected to yourself. And if you're connected to yourself, you're going to speak your truth. And if you're speaking your truth, guess what's going to happen? You're aware of your surroundings. And if you're aware of your surroundings, guess what you're doing? You're critically thinking. But more importantly, you see the value of your existence, because you're priceless. And when I say that, because unfortunately, still to this day, a lot of people think that because what you obtain from this world defines your worth. You can't buy peace of mind. Trust and believe there are people of monetary excess that still are paranoid. It seems the more, and I'm not saying, because somebody gonna say, Joe, you hating. No, I'm not. Think about it. Even Biggie said, more money, more problems. But you can be happy without it. And let me bring that home. Because I had an affirmation last week. Epiphany. Because some of y'all may know, I'm actually going to this spring. Probably go ahead and buy me a truck. And no, I'm not getting rid of my Jeep. That's keeping that. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to mod that out. But then it dawned on me. I said, well, now more than ever, vehicles are becoming more AI, more tech savvy, and they're not getting any less. They're becoming more expensive. But then I thought about it. And what crossed my mind was, every time you invest in a new vehicle, say a new vehicle that comes out, right? Excuse me, I thought I was going to burp. You know what you're really doing? Yes, you're buying a current vehicle, right? Or one that's going to come out. You know why you're paying that? You're basically paying to have access before it becomes common. Because if you notice, from the high-end vehicle, made the new model, whatever, as the years progress, everything that was tech about that vehicle eventually will filter out to the models that are below it until it decides to change. So basically, what you're doing is paying access to what is new. But the same tech that you're buying will become common 2-3 years. That's why vehicles depreciate. Some 10, 15,000 after the like, wow, $70,000 for a vehicle. And then the next year it's dropped down to 55. Why? Because you paid to have access to that technology. So let me flip it. What does it cost? What price do you have to pay to have peace of mind? What sacrifices you have to make so that you can rest easy? What do you have to do so you can smile? Only you know that. Only you know that. That's why some of y'all realize that. Look at the fashion. See, if you see your value and see your worth, guess what? It doesn't matter who it is. You'll make it look good. But you got to have a sense of self. Not everything's for everybody. That's why being patient, being honest, just being you is what is required to have that life that you dream about. So I think I said enough. I hope that this weekend has been restful. Love to hear from you. Sidestep the negative, stay grounded, but speak your truth because you're worth it. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. And let's be honest, family. There are going to be countless people that are going to want to have access to your life. That's why it's more important now more than ever that you see the value of it. Because not everybody is going to earn the right to know your story, let alone hear you breathe. Have a great weekend. Peace.